Hello everyone and welcome for another video of Love and Wargames. In this video we are going to unbox the Xenophon Battlefleet set. In the first half of this video it should be quite short because it is a normal basic sized box with only one flagship and two screws, okay. And in the second half we will check how to play each and every single one of the many variants that you can have, because yes, there is the Xenophon, but there is also the Kepler and the Loew. At the moment of recording this video I have received the box, but the rules for those three ships have not yet been revealed, so I will not be able even to tease, but this we will see in the second half. Right now let's open the box and compare the size of this beast. Okay, so as we start to expect now, there should be an advertising. Yes, there it is for Armored Clash, which is coming very, very soon. Is it Armored Clash, like British way, or Armored Clash? Yeah, it's probably this way. Like I've been seeing discussions. Okay, it is the British pronunciation. Let's be careful when we type it on the internet. We have, of course, the Xenophon in some phases. We'll keep it for the end. For now, let's have a look at the probably new sprues, because there are some new variants that you can build. And yes, indeed, cleaning a little bit. So this is the usual frontline sprue that we can see here. However, there are some variants, because you can see there is one SRS token that has been added here and some extra weapons. Okay, quite the update. We can also see that we now have this little aircraft to put here in order to make the Merian variant that is called the Amo. There it is, and we can see that it's in resin in there, and I'm a bit surprised because you have the aircraft there. How does it happen? No, okay, I think I get what I understand. This little thing is when you build the Châtelet version or the Ulysses for the main cruisers, so of course you need this, but there's probably some resin bits for the Amo. Exactly. Okay, so you can really make with this sprue plus the Xenophon itself a real carrier focused fleet. But as we've seen, the Covenant are really good for having a ton of SRS everywhere. They're probably the faction to have the most SRS tokens, but they can never gain weight of fire. We'll talk about this more when we'll be at the tactical part. Okay, just so you can see a little bit what how does it look when it's painted. Here you have this Merian Frigate right there, so this is the size and this is what it looks later on. Okay, I'm taking back the bits of the Covenant fleet that you can win. We are almost at 1500 subscribers, and when we do, there's going to be a winner for the Covenant fleet and one for the Union fleet. You just have to give us a little comment telling us what you think about the Xenophon, and you will gain the chance to maybe win this beautiful Covenant fleet. I will point you back to the video that we made to announce, so you can see everything that you can win. And this is an Antarctica, quite a good ship. Well, again, talk about it more during the tactical part of the video, but as you can see, the Covenant ships really have such a cool appearance. Okay, nothing much different actually. I thought this was new. You do have the new updated weapons which you were missing in the original sprues, but apart from that and from these all new massive weapons, I think this is the updated sprue that we've had for a while for the Covenant. So you get two sprues, but of course what we are all interested in is the Xenophon. So let's open it. And indeed you get those very cute little aircrafts in resin in these little balls. I have to say, okay, yes, you can put it in the Merian, but Merians are already good ships. We'll talk about the Amo, but I don't think you need to have Amo M1 carriers for the Covenant, especially if you already have the flying saucers mass ones that are already carriers. And if you want the Xenophon but you don't want to build the Amo, this could be really nice, like on the side of a mountain or something, if you make conversion for some terrains. If you make a Covenant base and you don't want the Amo, you have to use those resin things to make James Bond style base with aircrafts being launched from the mountain. I'm not sure we'll do this. Probably our local Covenant player will absolutely want this box, but otherwise it would have gone straight into our terrain pile. And the Xenophon itself, I have to say I really like the appearance of this guy. I've been waiting for a while for the Covenant to have a dedicated Battlecruiser or battleship, because all their ships are very focused in doing something very cool most of the time, but they didn't really have, except the Archimedes, but it's a mass force, it's huge. They didn't really have a normal flagship combat vessel, and now they do. There's a lot of options, as we have seen when we were making the news video for the releases of August. But as we've seen, you can put different heads, like different command decks, to make sure that you have the right versions between the Loew, the Kepler, and the Xenophon. And you have some extra little details here that will go around and will make it look brilliant once it is assembled. Just so you see how it looks in the end. I like the very modern, I would say, like even futuristic style of this ship. It looks like a stealth vessel by the US Navy. And yeah, cannot wait to see this little guy painted and on our battle reports. Even if it will be as an enemy, because it's not going to be one of my ships. To make a little size comparison of the Xenophon before we switch to the Tactica, let's have a look how it looks next to a Merian, but this doesn't help you very much. It helps to see it next to an Antarctica, because, well, mostly like this, you can really see the difference of those guys. And finally, of course, I had to bring out my Nansen / Archimedes. It's a little mix that we have right now. But yeah, you can see that it is way smaller than the Archimedes and the Nansen. Of course, it's one mass smaller. But yeah, it's really like exactly what the Covenant were missing. Let me put them on the table. Yeah, I think like this you can see quite well what is the size difference between mass 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so the Xenophon looks good, 2 sprues. The box is quite cheap for everything that you get. We know this from War Cradle now. Nice looking ships, but how do they play? It's been a while since we analyzed the Covenant forces, so let's talk about them. They have so many special rules, and I'm sure by the time I record the second half of the video, the Xenophon will have himself a ton of rules as well. So without further ado, let's go to the tactical analysis and what to build part of this video.
So let's go for the Tactica for the Xenophon. And the first thing I want to say is I'm a bit sorry that this video comes so late. We were waiting for the 3.07 version of the Orbit, and it took a long while because it was released middle of September, which was a bit longer for something that was released in August, but there were summer vacations, so okay, let's admit. There are a few things that were still missing, like wallpapers and stuff, but let's not wait any longer. I record this as soon as possible, so you know if you want the Xenophon Battlefleet set or not. So a little summary of the Covenant playstyle. The thing that you need to know, first of all, is that they have been way simplified for the last few orbits, 3.06 and especially now 3.07. They are now much easier to play with and against. They are still a faction with quite complex combos sometimes, but it's been reduced, and with a little bit esoteric weapons, even though now they have more common weapons with other factions. So they are still technologically advanced faction. They still have very random weapons, a little bit like Skavens in a way, and it can work very well or very bad. It works as in offense as in defense. Sometimes they will just bounce off massive attacks. Sometimes they will just melt like hot paper. This is just a faction where if you play them, you need to know that they are random. Dystopian Wars is already a random game, but they are even more random than the other factions. It can be a lot of fun, but yeah, that's how it is. Just notice that it's not the right wallpaper. I just used this because we don't have the wallpapers of the Xenophon yet. I hope we'll get it one day. What do you get inside the box? Let's just make a little checkup again. You get this massive Xenophon Battlecruiser, which has a few variants. We'll talk about each of them, of course. You have 2 frontline cruisers, the Lovelace, with many variants as well. We've known them quite a while, but now let's talk about them because they have changed a little bit, so we'll not skim over them. Then the frigates, you can build them as the classic Merian and especially as the new Amo, as we've seen with the little resin bits, okay. And some SRS token, of course, because the frontline cruisers can send SRS. I think one of the variants, the Love, can send SRS tokens as well, and of course the Amo, so you do need those SRS tokens for sure. I'm sorry if my voice is a little rough, I am a little sick as I record this video, so it's a little bit deeper than usual. So let's start with the Xenophon Battlecruiser. This is really what had been missing for the Covenant fleet for a long while. It is a cheap, no fancy stuff, combat-oriented battlecruiser. So for 210 points, which is cheap for a flagship, you get a ship that is 6/6 hull points, okay, with 7 armor, 13 citadel. Armor is fine, citadel is low, but it's okay. It has wave lurker, so it can first of all deploy later, and it can like as a submerged, and it also can really gain this defensive boost of being submerged. It also has luminiferous defenses at ADV 5. That is going to help him quite a bit, and flag barrage 6. So we already see it is not a main battleship to hold the center, but it's not completely like terrible in defense either. Wave lurker, like I put the rule here again, still kind of the same-ish. There are some things that changed. You can still deploy it as a submarine, like going under the wave at turn 1, okay. You cannot do this if you're critically damaged, etc. There are a few things that do not work anymore. Like basically it just gives you that you are considered as submerged, that's it. But you do not get the negative bonus, like a malus, at shooting if you are wave lurker. So you still shoot at full potential. However, you cannot use luminiferous defense if you are wave lurking, which is good. It will be way too strong otherwise. Luminiferous defenses has changed as well. You still use crippled ADV to defend against broadside and gunnery. Okay, very well. Maximum 6, but anyway, it doesn't go higher much often. You need to be battle ready, so if you're crippled, it doesn't work. Alright, mass 1. Yeah, I think there is a little typo here. Mass 1 units must use their battle ready ADV. I think this is not right. Like if you're mass 1, you cannot use this. And if you're mass 2 and plus, you need to use. Okay, no, indeed, I double checked. Mass 1 can use their battle ready ADV. I checked around the orbit. They can use it. It's a bit weird how it's formulated because they don't have battle ready and cripple. They're always battle ready, otherwise they destroy. But okay, still they can use it. And the thing that changed, like it had many different ways. Do note that now the big bonus of luminiferous defenses, which integrates now a bonus that you had with the entropic generator. Entropic generator doesn't exist anymore for the Covenant. Is that any attack against a non-obscured model, so it doesn't count when you are submerged, for example, counts heavy hits as a single hit. That's already like big, and there is nothing the opponent can do to protect against that. So it gives you additional reliability and protection against defenses. And this is on top of rolling, of course, your crippled ADV. So okay, it's changed a little bit. Let's hope it will not change much more. I think it is quite fine as it is now, because you really have this balance between being wave lurking, which basically gives you obscured, and luminiferous defenses, where you use your ADV, and you also force your enemy to count double hits as single hits. Still good. And yeah, basically all the ships have it. We'll just talk about it here for the Xenophon, but that's how it changed for everyone. You also have turbo encabulation drive, which means that you can teleport around. We'll talk about it a little bit later for other ships that use it better, but Xenophon, like any basically Covenant ship, can use this. Yeah, also has enlightened science, so it's a little bit more reliable, especially with its generators and stuff. I will not go too much in detail for newer players. And if you make a 6 on your repair roll on explosive, you heal, which is very rare in this game. Now, in terms of offensive firepower, it has particle beamers, 2 to the front, 1 to the rear, which is okay. I'm gonna use, if you can link up all 3 of them, it is going to be quite a good weapon. At long range, it's like 6.4, closing range as well, and if you are at point blank, it's 7.5, but don't go charging just to gain a couple extra dices. Usually, if your opponent wants to be at point blank, you can stay at long range happily and it's gonna be fine. Also has Precognition and Torpedo Salvo, good torpedoes as well for the first few turns of the game. Great. And there is not much more to say about the Xenophon. It's just a good packaged deal. It has good weapons, good range, fair defenses, it's quite cheap, and it's just meant to be just that. It's a cool looking ship. We're not here to talk about that. It's a cool looking ship that is going to do holding the center. It's not going to kill the entire enemy fleet. It's not going to hold the center. It's not going to be the main threat, but it's going to be very good and efficient for its point. It's basically a heavy cruiser with a lot of health and everything for a very cheap price, I think, for what it does. And with all the additional combos you can do with the Covenant, it is a very good ship. It's not going to change the game, but you will never feel bad for fielding it. Maybe one day it's going to be like the Russian Borodino, and you're going to be able to field them as squadrons, hopefully, maybe one day. But it really feels like yeah, the exact sweet spot between a cruiser and a battleship, hence the name. Many other factions battle cruisers, I think of the French one, I think of the Turkish one, wish they were as good as the Xenophon. Now we go to the Kepler Superiority Cruiser, and if the previous Xenophon was basically a Lovelace on steroid, this one is an Antarctica on steroid. It is a very, very angry ship, and it is much more expensive. It is a bit harder to play because it does not want specifically to stay at basically any range and just do whatever you want. It has two things that are a bit contradictory. It has still the torpedoes and the particle beamers, one to the front, one to the rear, so he wants probably to stay a little bit long range. It also has by default this heavy particle cannon that is the best at closing range, and it has also a great fray of 10 with Lamarckian barracks and Helian core, so it can make assaults from a bit further away. It can also attack skimming and aerial units, so they can just take their jetpacks and go around. And the assaults at fray 10 are gonna have sustain, good, very good, the hazardous, also fine, and devastating. Sustain and devastating, it's really a great combo. So this is already amazing. The thing is, this ship is too versatile, let's say, doesn't do one thing great, and you're not sure at which range to play him. So if I were to play the Kepler, I would replace the weapons with the Sturginium atomizer and the Sturginium agitators, and just either teleport it, either keep it in reserve, or just hide him well, because if he gets at point blank, it's basically a much cheaper and just as efficient version of the Schneider, which was this huge flagship of the Covenant that was basically twice the price of a Kepler, and also with great fray capacity, etc. And I'm like, at some point, since the fray damage is capped, maybe just keep a Kepler, make a carnage anyway, and it's gonna be just way enough. So yeah, the Kepler is the little brother of the Schneider, indeed, if you sell him like this. And yeah, it's just gonna be great at this if you do play him like this. It's gonna be more fragile, barely, and it's going to be a real thorn in your opponent's sides because you will have to deal with it. Because if the Kepler with all his Sturginium weapon gets at point blank or even closing the range, he's going to start to make a lot of damage. But you're gonna have to keep him hidden until he arrives there. Otherwise, you can just forget what I just said about this special configuration of weapons and just use it a little bit like the Xenophon. And if you keep the default loadout, particle beamers, torpedoes, and heavy particle cannon is going to be fine basically at every range, and you can use it as a bit more expensive and a bit more threatening Xenophon. Then we switch to a very interesting one, which is a Loew Fast Explorer. It's at 230 points, same defensive profile as the Xenophon. And what does it do? First of all, it has less weaponry. As you can see, only one particle beamer to the front, and the heavy broadside and the torpedoes, okay. Flag barrage 8, a bit better, and it has a lot of support. First of all, it is an aircraft carrier, 5/3, already good. It has wave lurker, all the usual things, and it is what they call now, it's been just one, it used to be many role like Void Shaper, whatever. Now it's Superior Void Engine, and it basically boosts your turbo encabulation drive. I leave the text here if you want to see. If I had to make it simple for a new player, and it's going to be hard because it's a very complex rule, basically instead of moving, you can choose to make a turbo encabulation drive. You roll dice, and more dice the more times you do it in a single turn, and there are more chances that it goes bad, basically, with the turbo encabulation drive. There is a little table, and you check what is your result. Maybe you just stop completely, maybe you teleport a bit further away where you wanted, maybe you can go anywhere you want, maybe you just die outright, so it's very random. Superior Void Engine, first of all, it allows you on the Loew or a unit within 5 to reroll a single blank on a turbo encabulation roll, which is good because blank is like instant death for your ship, so you really want to avoid that. And also, you can activate the Superior Void Engine of this guy, and there are two ways to use this. You can use it on an enemy ship. It creates what they call a lethal spatial rift, basically makes a catastrophic explosion and then more damage depending on the number of models in the unit, so great against frigates, for example, then you're just gonna obliterate one frigate, not great. But yeah, great against cruisers, for example, in large squadrons. Or you can choose a friendly model, and then you can roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in this unit, so in this case great for frigates. Then you just choose one result and you roll this. It's not degraded by the number of time you've been rolling turbo encapsulation drives or not. Great. This is perfect for the Loew as a way to just teleport and yeet forward a big squadron of Merian Frigates, for example, or Praxilla submarines with their drills, etc. This is a great way to send your ships forward. It's been packaged in this new Superior Void engine, and it's great early game because you really want to, if you want to use TED, turbo encapsulation drives, you really want it to be at least a little bit reliable, and this ship is the way to do it. And later on in the game, you can also use it at point blank to make catastrophic explosions on enemies, so it's not useless later on in the game. The Loew is a great ship. I think if you play into this TED gameplay, it's vital. It's not the only ship that has this rule, but it's still very good. And it's great as a long-range support. It has 5 SRS capacity, okay, but Covenant is good at spamming more and more ships with a SRS capacity. The torpedoes is also fine, and it can be a good support piece as well. 230 might be a little bit expensive. If you really have a plan and you want to throw 6 or 8 Merian frigates forward, great, it's going to get its point back. If you don't plan to use the Superior Void engine, maybe it's not worth it. Now we arrive with all the cruisers. We're going to go quite fast on each of them. I will just tell you which ones are good or bad, and the basic stuff of what they do. You have all the data sheets in there. Do note again that they don't have entropic generators anymore, so they're more fragile than they might look at first glance. Lovelace, basic cruiser, your basic workhorse, but still very good because of all the enlightened shenanigans and rules. 2 particle beamers, great. Some torpedoes, some broadsides. For 90 points you could do way worse than a Lovelace. I compare this to a Russian Kutsov at the same price. The Lovelace is so much better with Wave Lurker, Enlightened Science, Luminiferous defenses as well. Like, oh my god, this thing is really good. Even at long range, it's a great ship. You will never be disappointed by the Lovelace. It will be auto-include if there were not even cheaper and more efficient ships in the Covenant. Yes, the Covenants are a very strong faction. The Stiletto, 81 points for basically exactly a Lovelace, except it's faster. It also has full steam ahead, so it can really be fast, like really be fast. And it has this advanced etheric lance, which is quite interesting because the Stiletto is going to be played as charging forward in the first turn, so you're just going to use your forward particle beamer and your torpedoes same as a Lovelace, and only turn 2 or 3 when you're going to start to turn around and show your flank to the enemy to use your broadside as well. Then you're going to use the advanced etheric lance, and what is this weapon? It's exactly a particle beamer, except it doesn't have the long range capacity. So you basically save 9 points, almost 10% save, just to trade the capacity of shooting your rear weapon at long range. It's a deal. Like, I take this every single day, and on top of that you're faster than the Lovelace. What's not to like? Like, Stiletto's cheaper and better Lovelace, I think, for the points for sure. Antarctica, tough sell this guy, much more expensive, 138. It's basically a very angry Lovelace with a heavy particle cannon, which is great. I'll let you read. Basically, you can boost, you can sacrifice SRS token to boost your heavy particle cannon. You probably will not use that often, but if you are a pro player, it can be powerful. Cross the beam allows you to boost your heavy particle cannons. If you have a big pack of 3 Antarcticas, yes, you can devastate one thing, absolutely, yes. You also get heavy broadside, which can help indeed. But is it worth paying almost 50% more of the Lovelace just to gain this heavy particle cannon? I'm not sure. You do get armor 6, which is not insignificant compared to the previous ships, but I will not pay that the difference just for that. I think the Antarctica is still overcosted, unfortunately. You can make it work. I mean, it's not a terrible unit, but if you want to make it work, you need to have the SRS support behind to trigger the heavy particle cannon roll, to trigger the cross the beam capacity, to make sure that you really combo everything very well. So, because the heavy particle cannon and its different variants can be great when packed with a huge unit, and then it's already starting to be 500 plus combo. Powerful combo, but not so easy to use as the other ships. The Belgica is a named version of the Antarctica, single ship, so you forget what I said about crossing the beam, etc. It's not all of that. It can be a flagship, it can help you for your construction. It only has the Sturgeon atomizer and agitator, so it really wants to be at point blank. I'll show you the capacity again. Basically, you multiply the mass by, if you see by the mouse, by 2, by 4, etc., depending on the range. Note that for the atomizer, it's a blast attack, so you can just point at a mass 3 or mass 4 flagship, and then all the frigates around are going to be dead, for sure. It has a lot of funky rules, hydrophone relay, which is fun, but not great, like it can help other units to get better shooting, whatever. Interface navigator, this starts to be quite good, it can teleport around. It has an internal shield generator as well, which is great, except if you wave lurking, because shield generator prevents you from being obscured, so yeah. And agitation harmonizer, which means that your agitation weapons are even stronger. Overall, it is a good ship, yes, but it's a very glass cannon ship. I would say, like, if you plan to use the Belgica, maybe try to find a plan to use techno-encabulation drive on him, because that is going to be the way that you can make sure he reaches the enemy, because for 160 points, 65 points, he dies extremely fast. If you have a plan to deliver this ship, it's going to be great. Otherwise, yeah, it's not going to reach the enemy lines. It's way too threatening to your opponent. They will sink him easily, and yeah, that's going to be it. But if you can use it effectively, it's a very powerful ship. Then the Copernicus, basically an Antarctica without cross the beam, and with, of course, the advanced etheric lance in the rear instead of the particle beamer. Basically, I like this very much. If you don't want to pay for the Belgica for a single ship, and you want to make the whole package of 3 Antarcticas for cross the beam, etc., just a single Copernicus is a good ship. It's armor 6 as well. It's like 13 points cheaper than the Antarctica, and it doesn't get many rolls of the Antarctica, except that it's roll that you will only use if you really plan to make a massive combo with them. So if you want just one single ship cruiser with a big weapon, heavy particle cannon, Sturgeon atomizer, etc., take the Copernicus. For sure it's going to be good. And as always, don't glue everything, just magnetize as much as you can. Then we go with the carrier version. You have the Ulysses Vanguard Cruiser, basically a Lovelace that is 21 points more expensive, armor 6, so something to take into consideration. It has hydrophone relay, so you ignore obscured within 10 inches for you and for enemy units. It has Vanguard and the usual rules. It has SRS capacity 2/0, and it's going to be very efficient as indeed a Vanguard, like reconnaissance cruiser, because you make your Vanguard move and then you send your SRS tokens. So basically you can cover the whole map with this ship, and a Vanguard move plus 40-inch range for your ship means you will be able to use your SRS capacity on basically any ship on the map if you want. So it's a good ship for that. 111 points is fair, but he suffers from the comparison with the Châtelet, which is 20 points cheaper. So yes, it is only armor 5, which is sad, but the Châtelet is basically 12 points more expensive than a Stiletto and 3 points more than a Lovelace, and it's basically, yes, exactly that, a Stiletto or a Lovelace. Let's compare it with a Stiletto. It's exactly a Stiletto, not as fast and not with the full steam ahead, but with Vanguard still, very good, and with SRS capacity. Châtelet is a great ship. If you don't know what to build, first of all, magnetize as always, but right now I think the Châtelet is the most competitive cruiser, because for 93 points you have great weapons. It is relatively tough, armor 5 yes, but remember, wave lurking, enlightened science, luminiferous defenses, everything. You're gonna charge forward, torpedoes, particle beamers. When you get at closing range, you use your rear advanced etheric lance, same power as a particle beamer, and on top of that you have SRS capacity of 2. And if you start to bring like 3 or 6 of those cruisers, those SRS are gonna start to pile up. For 93 points, it's a great deal, and I love this ship. And we continue with the Merian Frigates. Those have always been a staple of the Covenant, like being basically glass cannons, extremely lethal at point blank and not great around. Let's remember that those that you have in the box, you will probably want to build them as ammos, because it's the only way you can have Merians as ammos. But if you decide for whatever reason not to do that, then do take into consideration that the Merians are still great damage dealers. you probably want to use them with a turbo encabulation drive to just drop them on the enemy. That's gonna be the best, especially if you use the superior void engines of the Loew, I try to pronounce it actually. And then yeah, you can have up to, I think you can make a pack of 6 of those, and then yeah, 6 of those at point blank with sustained fusillade and 8-6 as a pulsimeter, though you are a limited capacitor, so it's gonna be 5-4. It's still gonna be something like 25 dices that is going to basically double Citadel anything, including battleships, because it's 25 dices but full reroll, so that's huge. And on top of that, of course, you're gonna have your little cheeky pulse broadside, because you're gonna position yourself well with the turbo encapsulation drives and some torpedoes as well. For the package, for the price, this is extremely efficient. Citadel 10 is not great, but with the Wave Lurker you can survive a bit, and 3 whole points is fine actually. But if you buy this box, of course you're going to want to make them as Amo Carriers. They are cheaper than the Merian, and that's for a good reason. They don't have the main weapon anymore. They have the pulse broadside, which you pray that you will never have to use, and they have 2 main sources of damage and utility. First of all, they are 1/0 carriers. That's not much, but they are frigates, let me remind you, so you can have a lot of them. And they're basically, I think, point per per ship, per SRS tokens. I think they are basically the same price as any carrier in the game, or almost close, except they are frigates, so they are very annoying to deal with. You shoot at them with, I don't know, railguns. They're going to be obscured because they are mass 1. So when you shoot at them with gunnery, it's annoying. You want to use your super doomsday weapon, well, you're just gonna shoot one of them, and maybe you will obliterate it, but that's it. And if you have blast weapons, well, let me tell you, those guys don't care about like staying close to each other to link their attacks. They are just gonna spread out the ammos in your deployment zone, so they're safe from blast if your opponent has blast. And yeah, they're gonna be extremely annoying to deal with. They're just here to provide very reliable source of SRS token turn after turn after turn. That's all they do. Basically the same as was it the Piteus flying saucers? Well, it's basically the same, cheaper, and that does only this. The Piteus also had some little firepower and mobility. Those guys are not mobiles. They're just 4/10, so fragile-ish, but they can be wave lurking and still sending their SRS token. Okay, pulse broadside is really like a last resort, can make a few points of damage, but that's it. And still, if the enemy gets a little bit closer, micro torpedo salvo with like they are homing, so 5-3. If you start to have a pack of 6 of those, can start to make damage. I mean, if you have a pack of 6, even the pulse broadside will do damage. I do think that for the price, like having your 6 Amo Carrier Frigates as a first activation is going to be a very good idea. The Covenant really have so many tools. They are the faction with the most access to SRS spam. And one thing that I need to say about SRS spam, since we talk about ammo carriers, they removed the special rules for the SRS tokens, which means, yes, they are the same as others to be destroyed, so they are not hard to remove, but they can gain weight of fire now. And that's a huge thing, because Covenants are basically the best faction at spamming classic SRS tokens. Imperium has bombers, okay, Alliance can scramble further, but Covenant can just probably make the most SRS token in the 2000 point list, bar none. Like everything can have cars. You can have the Thule, you can have the Daedalus, the frigates, those ammos, you can, your damn Châtelets have them, the Plinius, you can have so many sources of massive amount of SRS tokens, and now that you can gain weight of fire, that starts to be really oppressive for your opponent if you want to lean on this. If you're a competitive player, maybe that's how I would play Covenant now. If you're not a competitive player, still having a pack of 6 ammo frigates in the rear, whenever you need to temporize, they don't care about a range and anything. They're just gonna be there being almost indestructible because your opponent will not waste firepower on it, and just being a good activation every time you use them. Yeah, that's a very good unit in my book for sure. So okay, you have the Xenophon Battlefleet set, and now you want to expand. Either this was your first purchase because you love the futuristic look of the miniature, okay, or you have some other Covenant and you would like to know like what goes good with it. The first thing that I will always recommend, almost always recommend, is the starter set. If you don't have the rules, if you don't have the cards, if you don't have the dices, this is where you get them. So for sure get them. For the price, it's 72 euros, and then you get another minus 10% if you go through my place, for example. You get so many stuff, so many goodies on top of the ships. So for sure you might want that. And what do you get? Also, you have the Covenant control ship, basically the Descartes, which you can upgrade to an Oedipus. I will not go deep dive on this, we have other videos where we cover that. And the good thing is that the Descartes is basically an aircraft carrier, a short-range aircraft carrier, because it throws whales. And if you start and you have only this as a flagship, you might want to use it offensively because it does have okay firepower, but then it's gonna die so fast and it's so expensive and it's fragile. Now, if you have a Xenophon and a Descartes, then you can use the Xenophon to hold the center as a real battlecruiser / battleship, and the Descartes behind to cover and be hidden and do aircraft carrier stuff. So they're a great combo. Plus you get everything in this starter set that you don't have. You have some support cruisers, I will not go in details, but the Tacitus, great frontliner, the Plinius, aircraft carrier, the Quintilian missiles, ships that is much easier to play now. It doesn't have blast, but it's great against aerials. So you have those support cruisers, you have advanced cruisers, which are a bit harder to play, especially for the Covenant, but they can give you good things. You can have another source of superior void engine through that. the Neutron is great, all of them. You have the Covenant Soul Machines, the Centipedes. If you do get the box, buy one of each, like build one of each. They have a good combo together if they are from two different types. And yeah, and the submarines as well, build them as the torpedo versions, much easier to play if you're a new player. And yep, it's like basically you have an overview of the entire Covenant range with this, except the aerials. And yeah, they're great and they complement the Xenophon Battlefleet set so well. The other fleet that I would highly recommend is the Archimedes Battlefleet set. It's the biggest box that you could have. It's 102 euros, so about 90 after the reduction by going through my place. And you have all the things that we've just said for the starter set, except the flagship. You get, instead of the Descartes, you have an Archimedes flagship. We'll talk about it soon. You also have two other frontline sprues, so it's going to be two more frontline cruisers, like the Lovelace, the Châtelet, great, and more as well Merian Frigates, so 3 more. That is going to be great. 6 more actually. So yeah, that is a good complement, and you will probably build those as Merians indeed. You have some tokens, etc. The Archimedes is the main flagship of the Covenant right now, at least on the surface. You can build it as the Archimedes. It has a great named version as well, and they are basically Xenophon but better, also battlecruiser-ish type of ships. The Schneider, we talked about it, don't build it, it's more for pros, but anyway, it's just another loadout, so you can just swap some turrets and make it work. And then you have the Nansen. I love the Nansen. It does so many different things. It's tough. For a carrier. It's an aircraft carrier basically. Only 6 SRS, but still armor 8. It's very tough. Good firepower actually. Good utility as well with logistical support. I mean, love the Nansen. I'll probably build it. Whenever I build a Covenant list, I always start with the Nansen because it does so many things. You can never go wrong with it. Anyway, great box. Great value as well, a little bit less than the starter set, but of course starter set is always going to have the best value, and really you have everything that you could want. Finally, on the third place, I hesitated between putting in recommendation the Thule Battlefleet set with the giant flying saucers, but it's a really, first of all, the design, I know it's quite divisive. Some people don't like playing with flying saucers and the star base from Battlestar Galactica. I understand them. I'm quite fine with it. I think they look great on the table, but yeah, it's for sure it shocks a little bit visually on the tables. So they're also a little bit hard to play. Like they're very fragile. They're quite combo. If you buy the Thule, you have basically to build the second ship. If you buy the Thule, you have to build, except if you want to proxy, you have to build the second flying saucers as an Onebu, because there is a combo. When the Thule die, it becomes an Onebu because it detaches. It's very cool, very cinematic, but you don't have much options. It's very good, very competitive as well, if you want to lean into that. But it's very specific playstyle, and it's glass cannon, and maybe you don't like it. So instead, at the third place, I recommend to you the Icarus Battlefleet set. It's 60 euros, so about the same price as the Thule as well, except this is much more like you will be happy putting it in your list every time. Thule really needs its makes your list very much like hammer and anvil. Icarus, whatever you list, whatever your playstyle, you want your fleet to charge, it can stay in the back. You want to make a gun line, it can be there. SRS spam is good. You always will be happy to have this box. And there are two ways to build the main ship. So you're gonna have some more frontline cruisers and frigates. So good. More Châtelet, we love them. More Merian, you'll be able to teleport them. We've talked about this already. And there are two ways to build it. Either the Icarus, which is an insane aircraft carrier, SRS capacity of 10, so amazing, and the Daedalus, which basically boosts your through. So if later on you want to have an air fleet for the Covenant, the Daedalus will first of all be a great ship on itself. It has good weapons, heavy particle cannon, I think it has Fortune of War as well, great ship, shield generator, and it boosts your aircraft ships as well. So the Thule, the Pythaeus, all of them, the Onibu as well. But if you buy this set, you really buy it as having a great carrier, which is going to be the Icarus, and some more frigates for 60 euros. It's really a great boost. Plus it shoots okay, it has a lot of support. One of the two variants, I think it was a Daedalus, can repair ships around itself as well and repair him better. So anyway, great ship, always good to have it. Visually it looks a little bit like an ironing machine, like, not a huge fan of that. The Daedalus looks much better than the Icarus though. Alright, that is going to be it. Again, not the right wallpaper, but because we don't have the Xenophon one, I apologize again. Apologize also for my voice, I'm still sick. Hope this video was informative. If it was, as always, give us a thumbs up, it really helps for YouTube. What helps even more and makes me very happy to, because I read every single comment, is when you give me a little comment. It also helps us to be more visible. Let us know if you like the video, if you like this Covenant, if you like Dystopian Wars, if you play it. And we also have a game where you gain chance to win either Union or Covenant battle force, like actually a huge armada for each of those factions. For the Covenant, there's going to be the Archimedes Battlefleet set to win. There's going to be the Icarus, I think, as well inside. So all the things that we said, you can actually win them. On top of the Xenophon, but the Xenophon is not part of it. So do give us a comment and you have a chance to win it. When we reach 1500 subscribers, we will make the poll in live to see who wins which fleet. And yeah, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Thank you for being there as always, guys. Again, I apologize for the Xenophon being so late after the release of the mod, but I really wanted to have the rules before I release the video, so you know if you would like the ship or not. Until the next video, take care of yourself and remember to keep things fair in love and war games.